Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County's regular Facebook Live broadcast. It's May 3rd today. We certainly have been getting a lot of showers, but I do see my tulips are starting to poke up, so we're starting to see some May flowers. I hope you all had a great weekend, and maybe as we wait for people to connect in and watch, I just wanted to recap a little bit about our last Facebook Live broadcast, which was an overview of Alzheimer's disease. So we had a request to talk about some different types of dementia, so we thought we'd start with Alzheimer's disease last time. Today I'm going to be talking about an overview of vascular dementia. This is another common type of dementia that we see. So again, that word dementia that I use, that's not a disease itself. It's what we call an umbrella term. So it covers common changes that occur when there is a disease that's impacting the health of our brain. So whether it's, like last time I talked about Alzheimer's disease, so this is a specific disease process that's occurring in the brain. Hey Mitch, it's nice to see you. Thanks for joining. But Alzheimer's disease is only one of many diseases that can impact the health of our brain. So today, this vascular dementia is a different thing that's happening in the brain. And when we think about it, the term is vascular dementia. So it's all about the health of our vascular system. And I'll often talk about what's good for the heart is good for the brain. That's one of our most important brain health messages. So all the things that you know that are good for your heart health and your vascular health, like eating a heart healthy diet, getting exercise regularly, getting moving, getting the heart pumping, managing our stress, all of these things are also really important for our brain health. So when you think about when you're living with dementia, there is that damage occurring in the brain. It is slowly destroying those neurons, which are those special brain cells that help us do everything, helps us find the word that we want to use in a conversation, helps us learn new things and create new memories so that we can learn a new skill or try something new. It's what allows us to access a stored memory, to connect with information we might need, even just to help us navigate our surroundings. So these neurons that are there in our brain, so again, our brain is about this big, 3 pounds, but inside of that brain are billions of these neurons, and these neurons require oxygen and nutrients in order to stay healthy and functioning properly. And those oxygen and nutrients travel to those neurons through our blood. So within our brain, we have an incredibly intricate vascular system. If you actually were to take it out of our brain, that whole vascular system of vessels, and spread it out, it would be about 400 kilometers in length. So it's very, very intricate. Every neuron has to connect somehow to our vascular system. So that vascular health is really important. Our blood vessels need to be able to transport that oxygen and nutrients to the neurons. Our blood vessels also need to be able to discard. So when our neurons are doing the messaging, they create a byproduct, and our blood vessels then discard that. It removes it from the brain and flushes this out. So that vascular system is so very important. So if somebody is having some trouble with their vascular health, so let's say they might be having strokes, so larger strokes. And if you have a stroke, it puts you at risk for dementia, it doubles your risk for dementia. And so we often know about the warning signs for a larger stroke, and the Heart and Stroke Foundation uses that acronym FAST. So, the face, is the face drooping? Arms, can you lift both arms up? Speech, is it becoming slurred or jumbled? And how timely it is. It's really important to get medical treatment right away if you notice those symptoms, so that they can reverse make sure the blood keeps flowing to the brain. So really important to know the signs of a stroke and to get treatment very quickly. But sometimes those things happen, we can have covert strokes, so we don't get those clear signs that something's happening, and so they can go unnoticed. And these covert strokes can, over time, cause a little bit of damage here and a little bit of damage there. It's not transporting the oxygen and nutrients to the neurons, so the neurons are dying off. Those brain cells are starting to die. And if we have enough of this damage occurring, a little bit here, a little bit there over time, then we start to see changes in ability. That's when we start talking about dementia. There's enough damage happening that the brain is starting to have trouble finding the words to use in conversation, starting to have trouble planning and organizing, starting to have trouble directing the body in how we want the body to move. So this is what is starting to occur with the vascular dementia. Again, if you look at heart and stroke, they have so many great messages that are to help us reduce our risk for vascular events, heart attacks, strokes, and so on. So you can listen to all those messages and think about them as really important for our brain health messaging as well. Keeps our brain healthy, our neurons working the way that they should. So when you think about vascular dementia, it's one of vascular and Lewy body dementia are like our second and third most common types of dementia. We are also seeing that vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease pathology often occur together. So if you have a diagnosis of vascular dementia, often that person will also have Alzheimer's disease pathology in the brain, and vice versa. If a person is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, they'll likely also have vascular changes as well. So these two diseases also seem to kind of work together, whether it's that when the brain is having trouble discarding the beta amyloid that accumulates with Alzheimer's disease, it can also cause that beta amyloid can start building up inside of blood vessels in the brain. So it can also start restricting the blood flow to the neurons. So they're very interconnected. So it's not necessarily one disease or the other. When you think about getting a diagnosis of vascular dementia, and with any type of dementia, what usually happens is you start to see functioning changes. So there's changes that are occurring that are beyond what you would expect with normal aging. So maybe somebody is, they've always been really a good planner, a good organizer, and now they just don't seem to be able to do those activities, get confused easily, don't seem to be able to problem solve their way through a challenge. Those things are those kind of warning signs that bring us to the doctor to say something is happening here, something's occurring. And when we get a diagnosis, part of that process, and it can be a long process, is to look at, first of all, medical history, your own medical history, family medical history. So let's say it's somebody who has a history of heart problems, maybe high blood pressure, and other cardiovascular issues. That would be an important part to look at to see, well, what is exactly happening in the brain. So they'll look at that medical history. They'll also do lots of testing, take the blood pressure, blood tests to look at, cholesterol levels possibly. So there's lots of things that they'll do. They might also do a brain scan, so maybe a CT or an MRI, and often it's in those brain scans that they'll see the changes that have happened from those covert strokes, those things that didn't have the outward expression that we normally would see with stroke, but you can see the damage when you look at the brain scans. So they can look at all of these things to determine, what exactly is happening in the brain. The other thing with vascular dementia is that the changes that you see, the changes in function, are consistent with where in the brain the damage from the vascular events are happening. So maybe a person is having covert strokes in this frontal part of their brain, the frontal lobe. So the changes you see might not be memory changes like you would see with Alzheimer's disease. The first changes you see might be more of the planning and organizing and personality changes, which are consistent with the frontal lobe functioning here in the brain. So what changes you see will be determined by what areas of the brain are receiving damage. Another thing with vascular dementia is that it typically has a stepwise progression. So somebody has this level of functioning and it stays consistent until there's another vascular event happen in the brain. Maybe there's another covert stroke or a larger stroke occur, and then there's a drop in function, and then it levels out. And it can stay leveled out for a long time depending on how well the vascular system is being managed. So if somebody's living with vascular dementia, or truly with any dementia, looking after the vascular health, the heart health, making sure that high blood pressure is properly managed, making sure that diabetes is properly managed, making sure that you're eating a proper heart-healthy diet, eating a proper diet, getting some exercise, and of course under a doctor's supervision. But all of these are really important. If we can keep the vascular system as healthy as possible, it can slow down how quickly changes happen in the brain. So I say with vascular dementia, so for some people changes can happen very quickly because they're having more vascular events, or it can take place over many, many years because the person is able to manage their vascular health quite well. So when you're thinking about heart health and brain health, what I like to leave you with today, because I always like to leave you with a call to action. It's so important to look after your heart health and think about it not just for the health of your heart, but for the health of your brain. So think about the diet that you're eating. Is it full of lots of colorful fruits and vegetables and lean cuts of meat? Omega-3s are particularly good, and we can get that in cold water fish like salmon and sardines. Also things like flaxseed has a lot, and walnuts are very good as well. So what kind of diet are we getting? Dark leafy greens are very, very good for our health. Getting some exercise. So again, it's whatever is, I want to say check with your doctor first, but whatever you're capable of doing. And the new guidelines in Canada are starting to focus more on just moving through the day. And yes, they suggest that a healthy adult try to get 150 active minutes a week. But now they're realizing that just getting up and moving, we tend to be very sedentary. I know in my job, I'm often sitting at my desk all day long, and especially now that we're doing all our education on Zoom, I'm sitting at my desk all day. So I have to consciously get up and move around, whether it's go out and walk around the block or just get up and stretch. But we need to get our bodies moving, so that's very important. Managing stress, and of course right now that's a big challenge because of what's going on in our world. But stress can really help to increase our blood pressure, which is then going to put our brains at risk. So we have to find ways to manage our stress. The good news is that there's lots of virtual yoga and meditations and mindfulness things that we can access online. So there are free options out there, ways to help manage stress. So there's lots of things that we can do to help reduce the risk, to help keep our heart and our brain healthier. And if you wanted to join us for our Heads Up for Healthier Brain series, we talk a lot about this. We talk about the risk factors for dementia. A lot of them are those heart healthy risk factors as well, things like smoking and diet and exercise and so on. And we talk a lot about ways to reduce the risk, trying to keep ourselves as healthy as possible to reduce the risk of developing dementia. Or if you're somebody who's living with dementia, these brain healthy strategies are really important for self-management, for living well with dementia. And so if you wanted to join us, it's a free education series. It's starting tomorrow morning from 10 to noon. You can always just message me here on our Facebook page and I can get you connected with the Zoom link, so it's all virtual. Again, it's a 4-week series, so it's happening every Tuesday from 10 to noon through May. And and think about what you can do for not just your heart health, for your brain health, to reduce the risk of dementia and certainly reduce the risk of vascular dementia. So thank you for joining me today. Next time I'll be talking about some other types of dementia. It's almost another umbrella terms, Lewy body dementia, which can be dementia with Lewy bodies or Parkinson's disease dementia, and also touch on frontotemporal dementia. So that will be 2 Mondays from now, not next Monday, but the Monday after at noon. We'll talk about those types of dementia then. So please send me your questions. You can message me here on the Facebook page, or you can contact me directly. And I hope to see you again. Have a great day.